everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, I'm Veguilla-Lezan. I'm a full-time freelance graphic designer, illustrator, and educator. This channel is where I document my journey and share tutorials and videos about themes related to the design industry. So today I wanted to do a follow-up to my popular Pantone Color of the Year video that I did in 2020 with the talented Lauren Leslie of Lauren Leslie Studio. I didn't get a chance to connect with her this year, but I wanted to carry on the tradition as it relates to the video series that I have going up this month that all relate to design trends for 2021. If you want to check out the video from last year, definitely click on the little notes above. I'll have it linked out. So back in December, Pantone announced two colors of the year for 2021. It was Pantone 175104 Ultimate Gray and Pantone 130647 Illuminating, which is this really bright, kind of fun yellow. So I'm filming this video right after the week passed where everything went down at the United States Capitol. And I wanted to kind of do a precursor before I share my thoughts on this, just because I think it's relevant to the times, and I think these colors are really relevant to what we're trying to do here in the US moving forward and the world at large in general. And I think I can't just move forward with creating content that relates to art and design without highlighting some of the world occurrences that are impacting it. And a lot of the stuff that's going on here in the States is that. And I don't want to focus too much on it, because personally, as someone from the BIPOC community, I'm Hispanic, I'm Latinx, I'm Mexican and Puerto Rican. If I'm being honest, I'm tired. I'm just tired of seeing all of this stuff happening because people hate people like me, or people hate people of color. And I'm sad for my friends and family who are part of the Black community, and I think we need to do better. And if anything, a lot of these things that relate to design and art, they have such a deep impact on our culture, and often they reflect the zeitgeist of the world. Obviously, Pantone's a US-based company, and it makes sense a lot of the things that they're talking about reflect what's going on here, but that doesn't mean that when we're looking at things from a global scale that there isn't work to be done, because there is. And obviously, I'm tired. And I'm tired because I'm sad about the negativity that I'm seeing in the world, and I'm sad that there are people out there that still hate and believe in white supremacy. And yet at the same time, I'm hopeful because so many people are speaking out, and so many people are willing to put themselves out there and fight and say that white supremacy is wrong, and remind people that Black lives matter, and all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. So the fact that we're seeing all of these things going on in the world around us, it only makes sense that it would impact the art and design and the cultural, aspects of our world. Artists and people in the creative fields are often we're kind of pushed down in terms of our place in society, and yet when we're in pandemics, when the world is at its darkest, people often look to art, and they look to the cultural aspects of creativity to find inspiration, to push for movements, to create change, and to voice their concerns about the world around them and the wrongdoings that are happening and the things that they're hoping for. And I think that's really important and relevant, and I wanted to make sure I spoke on that before we even got started on this, because I don't want to share videos on my platform and this channel, even though it's small, without highlighting that I'm aware of what's going on, and I want people in my community to feel safe. And right now, I don't think they do. And what we're seeing, with what happened at the Capitol, and these people just did bad things, and I have to try to explain that to my kids, and I want to try to use art as a form of being able to communicate these ideas with them. And I just thought that Pantone did a really good job of kind of hitting the nail on the head in terms of what we're looking for in terms of stability and foundation, but also having remnants of hope in our heart for how we're going to move forward. They once again did something that was totally out of character for the second time in 22 years. They picked two colors. Usually they just pick one. But this year they describe the chosen yellow and gray as independent but really complementary colors that are meant to represent a theme of unity and mutual support. And I think that's really relevant and necessary, but I also think when we're looking at things that are going on in the world, like the impeachment, this idea of, oh, this is just gonna further divide us. No, it's also important to have accountability and that foundation, that stability. You can't have that and unity without accountability. So people who made these bad decisions, these bad actors, they have to be held accountable. And so I think all of this kind of plays into this, and I think it's interesting to see the juxtaposition between, you know, the things that are going on in the world and then what you're seeing in the creative and design world as well. So when we look at that yellow, it's meant to be illuminating, it's bright, it's vivacious. And then that gray is firm and dependable. So it's this marriage that represents strength and optimism and fortitude following an obviously challenging year. And even more so here in the States, because we still have the pandemic raging on. We're having a sitting president, you know, going through like impeachment process already, and I don't fully know what's going to happen. We're following this challenging year, and we're looking for hope and we're looking for stability, and these colors absolutely kind of fall in line with it. And it was interesting that I'd gotten a comment on last year's video because I spoke very much kind of like US based, and that's where I'm from and that's what I can speak on. But when we're looking at things from a global perspective, you're seeing change and disruption everywhere because of the pandemic, because of clashes in different countries with regards to fighting for things like democracy. And I think that while I can speak most clearly on the US, I think all of this still relates very well to what's going on from a global standpoint. While designers and creators are often undervalued in society, I believe that art and design can and indeed does make a difference. And that's why I feel these colors are a direct reflection on the current global experience. When I think about the gray tones, we're looking at colors that embody representations of strength, a foundation to stand upon, and resilience. Yet the yellow inspires hope for brighter days. Yellow is warming and bright, and the two put together are kind of meant to give people resilience and hope. And this is actually, when we look at this idea, it's coming directly from Leatrice Eisman, who's the executive director of the Pantone Color Institute. So not only this, but a reflection of what is happening in the world events. So this pairing highlights both the seriousness of the ongoing struggles like the Black Lives Matter movement and the stay-at-home orders, while at the same time inspiring the hope connected to the recent world announcements that we've all been waiting for. Now there's multiple vaccines against COVID ready to be distributed in the coming months. We're hoping that our numbers will start to dwindle. We're hoping that the stay-at-home orders are going to be lifted. Like other disasters currently overwhelming us, things like climate change, systemic racism, things like that, it feels like it's going to be forever before we are out on the other side. Yet somehow we know we're going to make it there. And somehow we believe in the goodness of humanity. So it's a reminder and a glimmer of hope. The juxtaposition that these colors create, that push and pull of worry and doubt and hope, it's an all too familiar yet really strangely human feeling. It's a blend of this heavy dread and an aching for positivity, which is what I and many others are seeing behind Pantone's choice of that gray and yellow for 2021. You even see this color combination trickling into the runway, a continued phenomena where the zeitgeist of change is being implemented by even the luxury brands that may seem so far out of touch. As Steph York explained on Vogue.com, this color palette is in many ways the racing pulse of designers like Prada and the experiences that they're creating on their runway. And we see this a lot in high fashion. Steph explains that it's confusing at first, and maybe to some people it could also be considered ugly. That, though, over time becomes, with analysis, lovely, coveted, and worthy of revisiting. So my hope is that the underlying ideals behind these colors, the spirit of change, will also be implemented by these luxury brands as structural changes that support diversity and inclusion, something that I think hasn't always been a focus with these luxury brands and that I think is being called out very, very openly nowadays. And I'm hoping that they'll start to implement it. They won't just touch on this idea of allyship without actually pushing through and showcasing that they are allies. And I'm hoping that they're not going to just claim this idea that they're woke, but they're actually going to be woke. There is this very real and evident air of performative wokeness when it comes to the fashion and retail world, and we see a lot of these brands and companies being called out. So it'll be interesting to see how this moves forward, and I'm hoping that there is a showcase and a focus on that diversity and inclusion aspect that underlies a lot of this. Pantone itself explains that the colors were focused on emboldening the spirit. The pairing of Pantone 17504 Ultimate Gray and Pantone 130647 highlights our innate need to be seen, to be visible, to be recognized, to have our voices heard. A combination of color whose ties to insight, innovation, and intuition and respect for wisdom, experience, and intelligence inspires regeneration, pressing us forward toward new ways of thinking and concepts. So now that you know the ideas behind Pantone's color choices of the year, let me know if you're already using them or if you plan to implement them in any of the themes in your design work. If you enjoyed or found this video helpful or insightful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.